It was just a matter of time. Better tone it down, ladies. I don't know. This doesn't seem to be right. Kind of pissed off at the way WNBA women conduct themselves. I do. I think they have lost a court of public opinions. I think this is about people being pissed off at the treatment. The league has fostered a hostile workplace for Ms. Clark. That's a reach to me. But it is interesting, given the crazy world that we live in. It was just a matter of time. I feel like it really was. I feel it was just a matter of time until somebody pointed this out. You know, we're so involved in making sure that everybody is safe in the workplace. I remember I was working for a company called Radio One, and they said, don't even mention somebody's shoes. Oh, you have really nice shoes. That's not good. Don't mention or ask where someone is from. Hey, where are you from? Meaning Carmel, meaning Zionsville, meaning Indianapolis, Chicago, because they may think that you don't think they're from America. True story. A white attorney came into this all-African-American company and told us all this, and I'm sitting there laughing, going, you got to be kidding me. Hey, where you living? Where you from? Gary, Indiana. Oh, you can't do that. What? Anyway, we're so tedious in our making sure everybody, now we must make sure everybody's happy and healthy in the workplace. Me too. Don't say anything. Hey, it was only a matter of time before it moved on to Caitlin Clark. It is. It was only a matter of time, but I do think this is a reach. This could be a reach, and I don't know. Former White House staffer Sean McLaurin, he wants, and he penned a piece in the Wall Street Journal in which he's calling for a federal probe into potential civil rights violations with regards to how the WNBA, its leadership, and its players are treating the golden goose, Caitlin Clark. That's a reach to me. I see in the crazy world that we are in right now, I see if we went back to 2020 where this may be a thing, but I'm not so sure that one's going to fly. But let's dive into it just a little bit, shall we? It probably meets the description. Let me just give you an example. When that Kennedy Carter elbowed for no reason when play was stopped, Caitlin Clark in the back a year ago, and Angel Reese and her cohorts celebrated, I'm going to put that in the workplace. You and I are discussing something, and for no reason, I elbow you in the back, and other coworkers laugh about it. There would be grounds for me to get fired. In fact, there would be grounds for me to get prosecuted, assault, that kind of thing. Okay, battery, I guess, is what it would be. All right, hang on now. Basketball court's different. However, the world is crazy. And if you went with that example, because people do it all the time in coaching, if he were teaching a class, he could never use that language. We do it all the time. If you equated what happened and has happened, not during the course of play, not getting her eye poked on a jump shot or getting knocked down. I'm just talking about the way they talk to her when the ball is dead, the way they elbowed her. It's a reach. Believe me, I know it's a reach, and I really think this is nonsense, but it is interesting given the crazy world that we live in. Here's what Sean McLean said. The league has fostered a hostile workplace for Ms. Clark's excessive fouling. Yeah, that's bullshit. Targeting and hostile comments from other players and owners. Ms. Clark's targeting may reflect a culture of disparate treatment, and the evidence provides reasonable cause for a federal probe into potential civil rights violation. Let me say this. Had this happened to an African-American woman, you know this would be discussed. You know the normal suspects would be jumping up and down, standing on their head, shitting snowballs, and saying, hey, civil rights, racism, workplace. You know that's what would have happened, but I digress. It would be a reach there as well. I think this is a reach. Particularly, you can't, and you shouldn't, and I hope they don't, do anything about, quote, excessive fouling. And talking some yang, I don't know that that's any big deal either. Now, the example that I gave you, certainly, if she's being accosted behind the scenes by other players for no reason, possibly. But the truth of the matter is sports is just different. I'm not saying absolutely not. McLean goes on. This would mirror the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission investigation into Darica Hamby's pregnancy discrimination claims against the WNBA and her team. And her team, Congress, and the Labor and Justice Departments would be justified in examining the facts. Hamby believes she was cut because she got pregnant. All right, well, that's a weird one, right? I mean, it's sports. You're knocked up. Can you play? I go back to 1982. I think it was either 82 or 83. You know, they lap, like 82 becomes 83, that kind of thing. Denise Jackson was the Big Ten's Player of the Year. She played at Indiana. She's a good player, really nice lady. She got impregnated while she was playing. Turned out she was pregnant while she was playing. So my experience is you can play. I mean, what the hell? But they did, and she did. Hamby filed a claim. I don't know. This doesn't seem to be right. Quick reminder for everyone at home, we're talking about a professional basketball player taking a few, and it is a few in the whole course of things, hard fouls to the floor, on occasion falling. Okay. Comparing that to legitimate civil rights violation or players carrying a child may sound ridiculous, and that's because it is. No, look, it is. I mean, I could read this or I could just tell you from the heart. I get it. People are upset at how Caitlin Clark has been treated, but if this is a civil rights violation, my God, you could damn near go into any NBA locker room, any college locker room, and there's going to be civil rights violations, at least according to the law. And if some suit wants to make it out to be a deal, I guess they could. But on my show, we're going to say this is idiotic. But again, I did give you the example of hitting somebody in the back for no reason in the workplace, which I never considered the basketball court a workplace. I never did, but it is. I get it. I do. It's like the dildos being thrown on the court. They're saying, well, this is the workplace. Yeah, it is. I get it. But it's not for a fan. It's a fun place. I don't know. It's a weird deal. All right, this didn't stop our friend, a good friend of ours, Stephen A. Smith. Why is he a good friend? Because he gives us content, from entertaining the idea that this is something President Trump would do to fire up his supporters. Let's listen.
All of these things are things that has the eye of the administration. As you know, Molly, it ain't just sports that I'm doing. I'm doing a lot more than sports. I am not guessing on this. I didn't go on my show and just bring it up for no reason. I happen to know a few people who have said this is something that do not be surprised that President Trump speaks on eventually. And if that man decides that this is something that can feed his base, that can ingratiate himself with that kind of audience that is protective of a Caitlin Clark and what she stands for and what she represents, and they come to a conclusion that they believe she is being unfairly treated, that is going to be a problem for the WNBA. So I'm using...
And your sentiment essentially is that this could be worthy of an investigation, not that you're supporting one.
I'm not supporting one.
But there's enough merit that
they can say, they can make the argument that there's enough merit. A senator has already looked into it. You have members of the administration who have thought about it from what I'm being told, and based on Trump's history with the NFL and him being an obvious sports fan, goes to events and stuff like that, he pays attention to this kind of stuff, and this is the kind of stuff that can feed that base. So I'm saying to the WNBA, because I support the WNBA, I want them to succeed. I want all of these ladies to get their money. I want them to have their success. I'm just warning them, watch it, because if he gets involved and that base gets involved, because somehow, some way they embrace victimhood on a part of Caitlin Clark, it could be a problem. Be careful.
Well, there's nothing to be careful about, number one. Number two, he's not wrong. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump involves himself into real-life things, and that's what I like about him as a president. But I don't think this is about serving his base. I think this is about people being pissed off at the treatment and kind of pissed off at the way WNBA women conduct themselves. I do. I think they have lost a court of public opinion, and that's unfortunate for them in an era where they should be gaining the court of public opinion. It's almost like Sophie Cunningham, not Caitlin Clark, is a beacon in all of this. We've kind of forgotten about Caitlin Clark. She hasn't played, and when she's played, she hasn't been any good. So long story short, what I would suggest, based on Smith's comments and the comments in this op-ed, is you better tone it down, ladies. Better tone it down because Smith is right. Once this gets out there, and it is out there through this op-ed piece, now people are going to be looking. People are going to go into the chin going, and think about it. In my workplace, you couldn't do that. But let's be honest, Trump could also make himself look like a fool. If he comes out and addresses this, and he doesn't simply address the non-basketball playing issues. If he addresses being fouled, being taken to the ground, going to the basket, getting knocked down, he will look foolish and he will look stupid and he will lose his base because sports fans love Trump. But sports fans also know sports, and they also know what happens in sports. Now, if he knows things and is told things and has evidence of things that are going on with Caitlin Clark external of the actual game, the 40 minutes on the court in the workplace, now you got a situation. Now it's incumbent on the Indiana Fever or Pacers Entertainment, Sports and Entertainment to address those things and the WNBA to address those things. But just to simply say, oh, she's got fouled hard, or just to simply say, hey, she got poked in the eye. The shot to the back, hey, and people celebrating, particularly when the ball is not in play. Now, it's one thing, we're going to foul before the ball gets into play. Okay, we get that. That's part of a strategy. Hack-a-shack, that kind of thing. But not the egregious foul by that Kennedy Carter. That does not need to be looked at. But that could be looked at if somebody in the government, in Trump's administration, wanted to make a deal of this. But Smith is wrong when he says to appease his base. His base as sports fans, if you come out and say, I'm going to investigate the hard fouls in the workplace, we're going to laugh at you and you're going to lose your base. You are. Don't even try that nonsense. Hey, I know you're loving the show. Nice show. Nope, that was in a commercial. Of course you are. Well, here's the deal. We have 1.75 million subscribers on YouTube. You want to be one? Of course you do. Go to youtube.com/@OutKick/videos, and you can like, comment, and subscribe. And don't be afraid to like, comment, and subscribe. I got no problem with it. We kind of dig it. Former WNBA gas bag and just god-awful. Like, just awful. The Megan Rapinoe of hoops. Diana Taurasi made waves when she made some comments while promoting her documentary, Taurasi, which just came out on Prime Video. I like documentaries about sports, but there is zero shot I am watching this about her. It might be great. It might be awesome, but I ain't watching it. I find her to be repugnant. I find her to be repulsive. Not in physical, just by the way I've always watched her conduct herself. Terrific athlete, nice player, all that kind of stuff. But I've never felt like she is anyone worthy of my attention. I don't. Over the course of her career, Taurasi made approximately $1.39 million solely based off of her WNBA earnings. Not endorsements, not foreign contracts, nothing. No other revenue streams. All right. Keep in mind, she made over $1 million playing in a league that was lifeless, with her being one of the stars in it, and still remained lifeless, and had zero star appeal, and was hemorrhaging WNBA money. Now, think about that, but she still came out way, way, way ahead to play basketball. Anyway, and now that they have a star in Caitlin Clark, who is helping them all get paid more, they can't stand it. They should just enjoy it. You think there would be a Taurasi documentary without Caitlin Clark? Maybe. I mean, she's that big a star going back to college with Gino and all the guys and gals at UConn. But I don't know. I'm not sure. But here's what Diana Taurasi had to say. She's whining about playing overseas. She's whining about earning more from communists than she did in America playing in the WNBA, and finishing up by degrading a janitor. Even the effing janitor made more than me. Here's Taurasi.
I'm the best player in the world, and I have to go to a communist country to get paid like a capitalist.
Playing in Europe during the WNBA's off-season, these women were going for 7 or 8 months. They were chasing their value.
One time I came back and I was like, man, my parents have just gotten older, and I've missed a big part of it. We weren't making that much money, so generational wealth was coming from going to Russia every year. Now we have to come back home and get paid nothing to play in a harder league in worse conditions against the best competition in the world. The fucking janitor at the arena made more than me.
All right, let's understand capitalism. You're paid what you're worth. In Russia, you're paid more than you are here because you're worth more. The league is more interesting, I guess. I've never been to Russia. So Diana Taurasi bitching about going to a communist country. Well, guess what? Maybe she wants communism here. Capitalism is simple. What are you worth? Well, how do you determine that? What's somebody willing to pay you? How do you determine that? What's your value to that operation? What's the market cap? Those type of things of the institution, the business that's going to pay you. Because they're in the business of making money, not keeping some little girl happy so she can watch her mom and dad. So she's bitching about capitalism. Well, guess are going to a communist country. Capitalism worked. The league was losing $40 million a year, allegedly. They didn't have money to pay you. And you were supposedly the best player in the world. That shows your worth. That's how capitalism works. I know you guys probably want socialism or communism here. I'll say this about socialism and communism. I was in, true story, there is what? East Berlin, West Berlin, that kind of thing. Is that it? I think it is. Anyway, I was there. Man, one side was a mess. The other side wasn't. And when everybody moved, guess where they moved? Guess where they moved? Guess where? They didn't move to the communist side. They moved to the, wait for it, the pretty much democratic side. Tear down that wall, the Berlin Wall. Well, I got to tell you, one side you could literally look at, cars were this big, it was smoky, it was dank, it was ridiculous, it was unbelievable, and the other side was vibrant. The other side was like, wait a second, hold on. But these idiots, because they're going to say we don't make enough money in capitalism, you were smart. I mean, seriously, you were smart. I'm sorry, East and West Berlin. I knew that was wrong. East Germany and West Germany. That was the wall. Well, you go to West Germany, it was beautiful. What did I say, East Berlin? I knew that sounded wrong. Get with it, Dan. You go to East Germany, and everything was dank, everything was small, everything was run down, everything was miserable. You go to West Germany, everything was westernized. Everything was vibrant. Swear to God, anybody that was there, it was stark. It was unbelievable. So we're at the wall, and you could literally look that way, and East Germany was a freaking shithole, and you look that way, and West Germany was thriving. Honest to God. Honest to God. And I don't know, long story short, go play for communists. You're worth more money. But capitalism worked. You didn't get paid. Sorry about that. I don't know what to tell you. East Berlin, West Berlin, what am I talking about? Sometimes this head, it don't think so good. All right. Slick Rick Pitino, he believes that point guards don't exist anymore in the college basketball game. I agree. I do. I agree. They barely exist in the NBA. Here's his comments. Let's go. Point guard is totally done in basketball. You know, I said to the team, who's the point guard of the Knicks? Now, I don't know about that. That might be Brunson. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Thunder. The point guard is really done in college basketball. The days of John Stockton are long gone. There are no more point guards. Chris Paul is probably the last one. So you got to play with everyone handling the ball, 5 out, and just create good movement. Well, I got to tell you, I agree with him. I agree totally with him. I'll tell you when I noticed this. You can say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Brunson are point guards. You can't. You can say Halliburton is a point guard. You can't. But what he's talking about is the little point guard that dribbles. Isaiah Thomas. I tell you one, and it's Darius Garland in Cleveland. When I went, it hit me. It hit me way back then. It hit me when I was watching Cleveland play the Pacers in the playoffs. Man, there are no longer little point guards that dominate the ball like a Chris Paul, like an Isaiah Thomas, going way back. The only guy to ever lead the league in scoring and assists, Tiny Archibald, back in the day. Used to be you had a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. Now you don't have the one. You basically have 4 positionless players The Bulls started this back in the day. Think about the Chicago Bulls. Who was the point guard? They started this. You got Ron Harper, you got Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman. They're all roughly the same size. And then you had a big guy. Then you had guys coming off the bench like Kerr or Craig Hodges that could shoot the basketball. But Rick Pitino was 100% right here. And it really is interesting because when you look at Darius Garland, he's a guy that scores. When you look at Brunson, he's a guy that give the ball to, put him in a high ball screen. He might be the closest. I don't look at Alexander that way. I don't look at Halliburton that way, although you could. And I can understand the argument. But when I watch them live, I don't see the same type as what he's saying. Sure, you may say these guys are pointing, but it's not the same. Like everything ran through Isaiah Thomas. Come down, call out a play. Come down, it really isn't that anymore. You hit, you go through, you get the ball back, you get a ball screen. I don't think he's wrong at all. I really don't. You know, one of the things that basketball has gotten way better, is passing, making the next pass. It used to be, and it still is in some cases, one guy dominated. I remember watching the NBA growing up, and the Julius Erving-led Philadelphia 76ers literally put Julius Erving on one side of the court with the ball, 4 guys on the other side, and the rules were such that you couldn't really help on Erving. It was dull. It was boring. Now, everybody passes the ball because everybody has to be able to shoot from the three-point line, and finding the next is just the way kids grew up. The three-point line has changed all of that, and big guy shooting the ball has changed all of that, and I ain't mad at it. I really am not. I think it's awesome, but I agree with Pitino here. I do. All right, Archie Manning. Archie Manning, the Godfather. The Godfather and the grandfather. He is both grandfather and he is the Don of quarterbacks. He's the Don of the football. He went on record to claim that his boy ain't going nowhere after this coming season. And the NFL is further down the road. Arch isn't going to do that when asked about Arch Manning, son of Cooper, grandson of Archie. Arch isn't going to do that. He'll be back at Texas. You're not a Heisman candidate when you haven't played 3 games. It's crazy. That's right. The voice of reason. The voice of reason in a voice of crazy people. You're not a Heisman candidate if you haven't played but 3 games. Well, the hype in college football is such that Arch Manning is, for whatever the reason, mostly because his name is Manning and he plays at Texas, a Heisman candidate. All right, since the 2025 season is Manning's 3rd in Austin, he's eligible for the NFL draft. A lot of people around here are saying suck for Arch, tank for Arch, awful for Arch. I don't know. Give me a rhyme. I'm not good at it. And even though he's only played part-time, only started when Quinn Ewers missed time due to oblique injuries in 2024, the rumor mill has already run wild regarding the Browns' alleged interest in drafting him next year. Furthermore, Eli and Peyton played all 4 years of college football. Add in NIL, Arch is already a rich guy. He has endless justifications for staying in college. It ain't a bad life to be a Manning, good-looking kid on the campus of Texas. Woo, being a stud quarterback. Wow. Running Austin as a de facto mayor until you lose. Till you lose. I always say, man, it's great till you lose. And he is the face of college football right now, and he is the face of one of the premier programs historically and currently in the University of Texas. Furthermore, it's a debate. Years from now, will the NFL product be improved if players opt to stay in school longer, giving them more time to develop their bodies, which is massive, which is why you got to wait 3 years to come out of high school, because it's not like college. It's not like basketball where you can just all of a sudden, bam, go. I don't know. It's a lot of money. You want to get started on your career. In basketball, you want to get started on your career so you can get that second contract. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. We shall see what we shall see. Not sure. I'm going to ask Todd Blackledge about it. Todd, former number 1 pick, longtime NFL player, best college football broadcaster. I'm going to ask him about that. Would the game be better if kids stayed longer, my argument would be yes, it makes sense to me. But here's the argument in the NBA. Like, people think, well, he's not ready for the NBA. He needs another year of college. But here's what the NBA does. The NBA has 1 billion workout guys. You don't have to go to school. You're not worrying about anything other than waking up, doing basketball stuff, whether that's stretching, whether that's weightlifting, your nutrition, everything. That's all you got to worry about. There is no school. There is no social life. There's none of that. I don't know, man. I think going to the NFL isn't going to stunt you if you're ready physically. Now, if you're not ready physically, you can get killed. I ain't doing that.